This is Trash Talk with your host, Garrett the Trash Man.
What is up, everybody? You are listening to Trash Talk. I am your host, Garrett the Trash Man, and we got John the Batman Ballard back. John, I'm not going to lie. I went back to the dark days of podcasting by myself, and it's not nearly as fun.
I can imagine that.
I'm glad you're back. Tyler sat there on the couch, laying there like he was bored to death as I just talked to myself into the empty space of my office.
Is this true, Tyler? Was it lacking in luster?
I mean, it was probably a fantastic podcast. Come on, Tyler. But, you know, there's just dynamic that happens when we're both here just chit-chatting back and forth that I think is a lot better. And we've even got a third person
We've
today.
got the co-host.
Mm-hmm. I actually think he's probably in charge of this whole thing, to be honest. I think he's mad they can't hear himself. Here.
This is a smart kid.
Yeah, so things are a little bit crazy in my world right now because my wife is down in Texas at the, what are they called? Silo Days.
Silo days.
Yeah, old Johanna Gaines' little get-together down there. I imagine the credit card bill is going to be rather large this month. Yeah. So
Expensive week for Garrett.
probably, but hey, at least it's cute stuff, right?
Yeah.
She has sent me a couple couches and stuff. I've been looking at remodeling the office. I'm like, those are nice. Those are nice, but I'm going to be pretty ticked. I tried to tell her because, I mean, you know, but people on the podcast don't know that we sold our house, and we don't know where we're going to go live. It's not like we built a house and then sold our house. We sold our house, and then they're like, we can build, buy, rent. What are we going to do? That's awesome, dude. So anyway, it's me and the kids. It's a little bit crazy, but I told her, I'm like, you don't need any house decor, woman, because we're just moving everything.
Yep.
We don't even know where we're going. So, hey, dude, you're a little distracting. Yeah. Okay, you want to hear yourself a little bit? Ow, are you howling like a wolf? All right, dude. Tyler, why don't you turn them on real quick? We'll let the people hear Titan and Titan hears. All right, everyone wants to hear your wolf howl. Can you howl? Like a wolf? That's pretty good.
Good job, dude. Like a rock star.
Thank you, dude. It is pretty fun. When we're out camping, we're all sitting around the campfire, and then we're like, what's going on? And we look over, and Titan's sitting on the table. He climbed up one of the tables, and it's just howling at the moon. Just getting after it. Tyler's handling him.
That's right.
Nope. He's not going to have that. Hey, dude, why don't you go watch your show?
Dude, that kid makes me laugh.
All right. Little rocky start here, but that's all right. Like, that's what the people love, right?
That's right.
That it's not perfect.
It's definitely shoot from the hip.
Yeah, so I don't even know where I got to because I was extremely distracted. But me and John are in my kitchen right now because I've got my kids. Wife is out of town. So we're just making things happen the best way we can make them happen. But John, I'm just going to dive into this podcast. I'm not even looking for rants right now. Maybe we'll rant at the end. Maybe we won't.
Yeah?
You had the chance to go to something that we've talked about before, and that's Ontocore.
Yep.
They're a consulting company I've worked with many times. Actually just started another engagement with them to do some things. And they also put together a course so that they can share their philosophy on leadership kind of to the masses. Kind of interesting how that got started because they had really no intention of ever being a course company. I don't know if he shared this with you guys in the course.
Not in the course, but he shared it on one of the calls that I was on.
Gotcha, yeah. So they really had no intention of being a course company, but what had happened is some companies that I was working with was like, we got to have a way to share this to more of our staff at once. And so they created this course, and it just led into something that they do twice a year that's absolutely incredible. The Create Powerful course, is that what it's called? So, John, I want to sit back and I want to pick your brain of what your experience was of the Create Powerful course, what you took from it, and well, let me start with this. Have you ever been to any type of seminar or course,
I've been
rally?
I've been to like some kind of smaller like half day ones,
Mm-hmm.
and such, but never one that was like 3 days all in, all inclusive like that. I've never been to one like that. I've been to a few smaller ones, but nothing 3 days long.
Yeah. I know before I went to this course, I had some listenings, some preconceived notions about courses like this.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have gone if it didn't come highly recommended by someone that I really looked up to because of the thoughts I've had of those. And the thoughts I had of them was that they're just kind of like rah-rahs, get you excited, you come back for a couple days, or all excited, get and change your life, but it's no different than watching a YouTube video and getting pumped. Then my experience at Ontocore was completely different.
Yep.
And so anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there a little bit. So yeah, why don't you just open up and tell us how it was for you?
So I think I would kind of at first when I first heard about the course from you and from Jeremy, I kind of had probably similar thoughts about the course. And I'm so glad I was a part of the 19 weeks of Zoom calls that they did earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because that like I was excited about it before because we'd already signed up before that because we were supposed to go in April and then it got pushed to September because of the whole coronavirus. I have to say it that way for some reason.
Wuhan Corona.
Corona.
The Chinese Corona.
Because it's from China. But you know, and so like I was already excited about it, but I was still like, it's it might be just one of these courses. But then after those calls, I felt like it was such a good primer for it because then I was just like, okay, yeah, we got to get there. Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it can't come fast enough.
What about those calls had you feeling that way?
Just one, like, first off, Brandon Craig, who is the creator of the course. He is the founder of the firm. He is the catalyst behind it all. Like, yeah, just experiences with him. Just experiencing him and his way of being is just like, whoa, who's this guy? And I need to know more about him and what he's got going on and, like, what is this guy teaching? Because it's unlike anything I've ever seen. So that was kind of my first initial reaction. And then just some of the stuff he taught and being able to see how it applies to, like, everybody's life, not just mine, and how useful it can be. I was like, holy Hanukkah, this is neat stuff. And so I was like, man, 3 days of the nitty-gritty of getting into this stuff, can't get there fast enough. So that was kind of how I was feeling. That's how I was feeling up to the course. My experience of the course, and I'm glad you told me this because the first day is kind of rough. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of information. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. You're just like, just like, oh my gosh, information overload. But then the second and third day, they slow it down just a touch enough to where, man, you get into some really neat things. And it was just incredible to see people who, I mean, the majority of people who go to this, they're people who are up to something in life.
Yeah.
And some of them, they're up to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Get up there and just, like, the material just has a way of just opening people up.
Yeah. Well, like something that I wanted to say to that first day, that the first time I went to the course compared to the second, that really opened my eyes is something that they've said multiple times while I've been in the course, and I would imagine they said it this time as well, was there's more going on here than what's being said.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what that meant the first time. And that first day, that seemed like it was kind of dragging on maybe a little bit, especially before lunch and even the first session right after lunch. The first day I was like, man, these guys are just like, man, like why is it? Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
Mhm.
We get it. We get it. We get it. Let's go. And what I realized the second time that was so useful and so instructional to pay more attention to what was going on besides what was being said was that the work that they did the first day that felt like we were bogging through the mud, to me, that work is what created the opening that everyone had because in the times I've gone, people are sharing like some pretty personal experiences.
Oh, yeah, like super personal experiences.
And they're not and I guess to put some context to it, like in one of the courses, there was a couple up there talking about when he had cheated on her.
Yeah.
And openly talking about that, and it wasn't forced out of them,
No.
but they were willing to be the material and open up, and that was so instructional for me to see what it looked like to create that. And I just totally missed that the first time. I was just like, let's go. I must be, I don't know. I get what you're saying. Let's go. And then that second time I was like, I messed up more than half the course the first time.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar experience. You know, we had a couple the third day get up and talk about how like their marriage hadn't been good in years, that she blamed him for an accident with their son, and like their son was fine now. Like he's living life to the fullest. But like this huge rift in between them, and how she blames him for all this stuff and he blames her for all this stuff. And he's, been verbally abusive to her, but she's also been verbally, just like huge can of worms. And like they openly and willingly were like, we see this huge mountain of a problem that we have. And like they, within a 3-day period, were able to say like, grasp enough to see the possibility of like changing that huge, like getting that whole mountain out of the way of their relationship. And I was just like, whoa. And I mean, like there's another experience of a guy and his 19-year-old daughter, and that daughter is freaking phenomenal for a 19-year-old. Holy cow.
Was it Monterey?
Yes. She is like, I was like, holy cow, who is this girl? She's awesome.
Monterey's incredible.
She is. And her dad got up and like, they'd been through a lot throughout her childhood and then done really well and then had some hard times again. And like, just like them working through it. And I'm like, it's incredible that like they can both see how much good it can do for their relationship. And like for context, for those of you guys listening, like the purpose of the course is, one, how to create powerful and meaningful relationships, like in a way that you probably haven't experienced. And if you have, it's probably been pretty minimal experiences in your life.
I know for me, I say, like, after the course, I was like, I've never had a relationship with how I hold relationships now with anybody.
Yeah.
I never connected with anyone. And, like, now that's what I do all day.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. It's just incredible. Like, it just opens up the possibility of, like, what a relationship can be for you and, like, how completely different it can be. And so that's one of the big concentrations of the course. And one of the biggest things that just kept coming back to me is like Brandon and his partner Mark, who are the main two instructors in the course. Like, I don't know if I've ever had someone come into the beginning of a relationship so committed to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're that way with all 100 people that were there.
Yeah, and you experience it.
Yeah,
it's not told to you.
Yeah, it's
you
like
experience it.
Like, it's hard to put into language until you, like, it's hard to really understand it, but, like, just their level of commitment to you as a human being is just like, whoa. Like, I've never experienced this before. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And
just on that note, we haven't had Brandon on here yet, but if you guys get a chance, I encourage everyone to go back and listen to that episode I did with Mark, because there's so much to learn from that episode.
I need to go back and listen to that one now. I listened to it a long time ago.
Now that you should know him.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I got to go listen to that again because I'll probably get a lot more out of it. But then the other part of it that really stuck out to me is so much of what they teach, it's not rocket science. It's right in front of our eyes. They just help you be awake to it.
Well, and what got me is I realized there's a lot of really good guys saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but I didn't hear them. I didn't hear them. Like, you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, I take a lot of notes from Gary Vaynerchuk.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he and I have a somewhat similar personality, and I really connect with him, and I like his philosophy, especially in jab, 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 right hook. The whole idea of really, really giving, and then asking really resonated with me.
Yep.
So that's what kind of drew me to Gary Vaynerchuk. And I realized reading his books, there's him, Tony Robinson, all these classic guys that we've talked about on this are saying exactly what they're saying, and I never heard them.
Yeah.
I never heard them.
It's not
I'd
being
read the
heard.
books and I'd be like, oh, okay, and I was like, how did I miss 99% of what they were saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was literally getting 1% of what these incredible people are saying.
Yeah. And it's weird because the material that Brandon and Mark teach, it's like so many other people are teaching the same stuff.
But I do think they're the best in the world at like communicating this, and the commitment that they have to each person in the room makes all the difference.
Yeah.
My experience with them has been, you're not, we got you in the room, we got your money, we're going to throw this out there, you either get it or don't get it, and we're going to move on. We know we've got 75% people get it, and that creates recurring business, and we're good to go. They're like, nope, don't care what the cost, whatever. You guys committed to us by giving us your money, and we're going to commit to you by delivering.
Yep. That kid. You got a funny kid over there.
No,
He's
he's a handful.
But going back to the course, yeah, it's, man, it just opens up possibilities in life. Like just so much of like, wow. And the crazy thing is like, I'm a person that likes to work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoy it, you know? And after like being in the course, I'm just like, wow, like this is incredible. I now know how I can change so much in my life. And yeah, it's given me so much work to do, but I'm just pumped about it.
Yeah. For me, the feeling not even the feeling, how I've experienced myself since the course, since the very first one, how I've experienced myself is as someone that can create anything I want in my life.
Yeah.
Like legitimately anything. Like there's no reason I can't have anything I want.
Yeah.
And all that it takes is getting clear on what I want. And as soon as I've got clarity, like there's no reason I can't have anything I want in life. And that's been my experience since the course. And that doesn't mean that it's not some of the stuff you hear in like
it's not
The
rainbows
Secret.
and unicorns.
Like, oh, it's done. It's like I've got the ability to like figure out, create, put in the work to have anything I want in life.
Yeah, like you understand that like I can create a process that creates anything in life.
Yeah.
It's going to take time, obviously. But like,
and even the time, like I realized I gave stories up to certain times.
Yeah.
But not getting wrapped up in time either. Like, oh, I've got to get this done in a month. But being like, all right, like here's a process, or I don't even know what the process is, but I'm going to get to work on it, and knowing I can create in whatever comes. Man, like so much fear and doubt and just so much faded away, because it was like, I can go create whatever I want. Like, I know that. And that, like, so it's just like constant movement forward since going to that course, and I love it.
yeah. And one thing I will say is that my relationship with myself, like, is already so different and is going to change drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just, they help you become aware to like, and this is one of the reasons I went to the course, was just to like find clarity. Like when I can find clarity in life, like it's so useful to me and I enjoy it so much. And by going to the course, like it helped me understand how I can intentionally and clearly just clear up so much in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is probably the biggest thing for me.
Well, and the thing is, like with that, like why not live life on purpose?
Yeah.
Like it's really that choice. Like either float along, and what happens to you. Now I'd say nothing just happens to you, but that can be your experience of
Yeah.
it. Like you're not intentionally powerfully creating in your life, or live life on purpose. Freaking just go after it.
Yeah.
And it's like, geez. It reminds me. So I was listening to the Tim Candy and Joe Rogan podcast when I was doing things around the house yesterday, and Tim Candy kind of goes on a rant, and I was like, "Oh, preach, brother!" And he's just talking about. I mean, he wasn't saying it in this mean words, but it was basically like live life on purpose. Like he's like, get out, like run, exercise, shoot guns, practice, like get better. He's like, it makes your whole life better. Like all of a sudden you're just like feeling good and you're feeling great, and it's easier to wake up, and work is easier. And he's like, and like sex is better, and everything's just awesome, and like life is just better, and you're moving. And I was like, yeah, like that's exactly what how I would describe living life on purpose. And so much of the course, like I love how you put my relationship with myself. I did the same thing. I left like, oh my gosh, I can do that. Like I'm not stuck where I'm at.
So for the last couple of years, one of the biggest concepts that have been big to me is like, don't basically agreeing with what you've been saying is like, you can make your life to where it's not an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've just got like way more tools in my bag to make it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, my tool bag is like full. My tools are sharpened.
Yeah.
And now I can like sharpen them even more.
And like not only that, like you're a better carpenter.
Yep.
Or whatever, to go with the analogy. Like not only do you have the tools, like you've become something better.
Absolutely. And it's just kind of, I don't know how else to put it into words than that.
Yeah. And that's what's funny, people always want to ask, and it's funny because I've read a lot on the internet about these types of courses, and they're like, yeah, like experimental courses, like, there's a lot of people that are against these types of things, and I was really like skeptical, but all I can say is like my experience has been incredible, and it has been something that is really transformed my life, my relationship with my wife, and like the reason for like I've as I've talked to people, they're like, well, why is it like secret? I'm like, it's not secret. It's just I am still to this day, and I think I started working with them like 2 or 3 years ago. Like I am still understanding like what even my first experience was with it.
Yeah. And
so I can articulate it a lot better now, but it's one of those things that's like, yeah, it was an incredible experience, and it's a little tough to articulate.
My one of my brothers over the weekend, because we got back Friday night at Sunday dinner, he's asking me all these questions. He's like, I still don't understand what the course is about. And I'm like, I can't really do it justice.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, what do you mean? I says, for example, like I know nothing about tile work. Okay? I've had one conversation with my tile guy about doing our master shower. And it's like me trying to teach you how to do tile after that one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know nothing about tile. I know nothing about the different types of tile. I know nothing about the different styles of tile. I know nothing about how to actually do
how
it.
How long it's got to dry,
Yeah.
what putty you use. Like, it's a complicated thing.
Yeah, like he gave me a very brief rundown, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. Just,
Yeah, okay, I understand why I'm paying you as much as I'm paying you.
Exactly. Like, okay, yeah, I understand you're good at your job, and you've been doing it for 30 years. Great. Do your job. But, like, I'm not going to go try to teach someone how to do tile from that one experience.
Yeah.
And so I kind of told my brother, I'm like, listen, like, it's not that it's not that it's secret. It's just like I'm not in a place to teach it.
Yeah. Well, and I love that too about it, because it puts the emphasis on changing yourself, not going and preaching it to someone.
Yeah.
Like in my experience, there's been opportunities of my business to sit down and do a little bit of quote unquote teaching that go along with the concepts that are taught in the course. But that's after someone's experienced me in a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's what I really loved about it, is it's like, I don't go and teach this and get a whiteboard and let me show you the model of relating, because it's not going to connect or anything. But what I found is that as I change who I am, and my way of being is the model of relating, people are like, hey, how did that happen? How'd you produce that? And there's certain people where it's like, let me sit down and talk to you about it. And you can teach in that moment and be like, listen, you might notice that I do this and this is why and yada yada. But that comes after someone experiences you. And I think that's such a good model of leadership, to not be focused out, but focused in. And that's what produces the results outside of you and produces the opportunity to bring some more clarity of why you do what you do.
Yeah. No,
And so, yeah, I definitely saw that too. When everyone's asking, oh, what's it about? What's that? And you're like, just experience me for the next 6 months, all right?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about, like, if you have a different experience of me as a person.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My mom, we got back and we had some conversations and we just really expressed, and I think she could experience how great of an experience it was for me and Steph. And she's like, well, we got to get the whole family there. What do you think if we did this, and we did this, and we did this, and this, we get the whole family there? And I'm like, no, don't do that. And she's like, well, why not? I think it'd be great for everybody. And I'm like, maybe it wouldn't be great for everybody. Like, I don't know. But I'm like, but if you're curious about it and like, it sounds like something that you would like to learn, like, Mom, why don't you go to the course first and experience it for yourself, And if it does make a big impact in your life, all right, well then, more people can go.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think it's just like this big thing where like, all right, well, one person had a good experience, everyone go.
Yeah. Well, and I know for me, yes, I agree with that. And I'm now intentional to get as many people that are in my life to that course.
Oh,
'Cause I'm
absolutely.
like, if I'm working from this place and I can have everyone around me working in this place, man, we will boom, 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 and just handle things.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, like I know, like Jeremy had his whole team there. And eventually I definitely want to get my whole team there. And it's like, I haven't felt like they're quite ready for it yet either.
Yeah. And I'd have to say, like, it is for everyone, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I would rather there be an opening for it.
Yeah.
I trust Mark and Brandon to create that opening
absolutely.
in it. But I would much rather that I've started an opening so that we can be much more efficient in it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm thinking of taking a couple of my team members come September. Especially my office manager, because I'm like, she deals with all my customers, and she's always like, I don't know why customers are so nice when you get them on the phone, or why you can work out problems. And she's like, oh, it's just because they're talking to a boss. I'm like, that might be a factor at play, but trust me, I've had experiences in the past 5 years where it didn't matter who they were talking to, they were upset. But the model of relating is something that it's just such an incredible thing. And yeah, and I know to a lot of people they're like, model of relating, what? But I love how Brandon talks about that being his natural way of being, and that's something I really, really strive for.
And it's incredible. Like, it is the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just is that way. Like, that's who he is being in that moment. Like, whatever given moment, I'm like, holy cow, that's...
Yeah, and anytime I've been with him that's like outside of just the course, I can see that. You're like watching him go about, like, I've been in restaurants with him how he interacts with people in restaurants. I'm like, geez. And it gets incredible results.
Yeah.
He's getting like the most incredible service I've ever seen, and people are happy and excited to do it for him. He's getting off-menu items, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to live that life. And there's times where it takes work.
Yeah.
There's times where I experience it a little bit.
I'm not trying to like misperceive something here, but my experience of Brandon is like someone that has worked on himself unlike anybody else I've ever experienced in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've listened to guys that have spent their whole careers working for themselves and are great coaches, like, performance coaches. Like, I listen to a lot of those guys that are like, for the last 20 years have been performance coaches and made huge differences for people in their lives. I've never experienced someone like Brandon in like the sense that, like, yeah, he just, and I may be way off base here, but my perception of it, what I've experienced is just he is someone that has spent immense amounts of effort to intentionally be a certain way.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about that, and it sounds like you're going to set something up to have a conversation more about this. So there may be stuff that I misunderstand, but I'll share just the gist of what I understand of it. Like Brandon didn't set out to be a performance coach. Like, wasn't like he's like, I'm going to build this. I'm going to be a coach, and that's how he started his career. But he was. He owned like a metal manufacturing business, built gates and things
Fences
like
and
that.
such.
And so, I mean, similar to like work I do, blue collar type work.
Yeah.
Obvious, it seems to me that he was someone that was savvy enough to recognize he can't always be doing the blue collar work if he can't always run the business, or he can't work the business and run it all the time. He needs to. So I think he was definitely savvy enough to do that, but. People in his world were just blown away when the bottom fell out from everyone, and no one was getting paid that was in construction or tied to construction, but somehow Brandon was creating himself getting paid from all these people that owed him money, and it wasn't like he was driving trucks through their window and beating up their kids to get paid, but was doing it in a way where they were still friends and happy to work with him. And yeah, and I'm excited for you to get with him, and maybe you can share some insight that I haven't got a chance to hear. But that's something that I think is incredible because it just shows, like it's not just for someone that's going to be a performance coach to work on themselves.
Yeah.
You may never coach a person in your life formally, but it'd pay off tenfold to be working on yourself.
Your way of being would have a large effect on people.
Yeah. What's up, dude? You back for some podcasting? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I wanted to see a little bit, too, about how it was being there with your wife, and I'll share just real quick, not to lead you, but it might bring a little clarity of what I mean by how it was with your wife, because just seeing my wife in that course and who she was being in that course and who she's been since. Hey, drop it, Titan. What is it you want? Use your words. Hi, Titan. We'll podcast later, okay, bud?
No.
Who she was being, of course, like, for me, it was like, oh my gosh, like, I love my wife. I loved my wife before then, but it was like, this is like who she is, like when she's really got access to herself, like that's who I fell in love with.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not like I got to see it every day, just like she doesn't get, like it takes work, and I'm not always as much of myself as I can be.
Yep.
But seeing that, I was like, holy cow, like, yeah, the more of that I can get, the better. And so it was awesome being in the course with her. And now kind of going back to your tools, like we're able to work with each other and be like, hey, I'm not getting the full you. What's going on? What's out of alignment? What's the issue? What of the 7 elements of powerful creation is missing in our life here or in our relationship or whatever? Because let's bring all 7 of these elements full bear on this and let's create around it. And so I wonder how that was with your wife.
So I think that at least, from what she has expressed and communicated and what I've experienced on my side of things, those 19 calls were very beneficial to her because she kind of already had a primer for it. And so, I experienced her as just kind of very relaxed and just kind of like I'm going to just take this all in. She wasn't super aggressive. Like I experienced her not being like super aggressive. I may have been a little bit more aggressive. I, had questions, wanted to clarify things, where she just kind of sat back and just took it all in. Mm-hmm. And on the way back, we had a conversation about some subjects in our marriage that we've had conversations about multiple times, and it typically didn't end in a harmonious outcome. Like it was just something that we couldn't.
You weren't actually probably getting to the issue.
Yeah, we weren't getting to it. We weren't hearing each other.
You're just kind of bouncing around the edges, playing contextual ping pong.
Seriously, and we did. And we were able to hear each other in both of each other's issues, or whatever you want to call them. And like, boom, it was just like fixed.
Yeah.
And we're just like,
Yeah.
huh.
It's crazy how efficiently you can
Like,
handle
and it was
things.
just because we actually heard each other and we understood like what the other one was truly saying, and we were able to resolve it
Yeah.
and like truly relate.
Well, it's so funny because people that listen to this podcast can probably tell. Like for me, I get like my mind gets running. I want to say things. I'm like and like there's some time limit that's getting run out, and so when I'm using the model of relating, when I'm in it with my wife or with anybody, like truly being patient to get over on their side and make sure they're completely empty and complete about everything that they have to say. It's like, I gotta be faster. But it's crazy how much more efficient it is to be like, yeah, tell me everything. Like I'm here. Whether this takes 2 hours or 10 minutes, I'm here to hear everything you have to say. And I guarantee no matter what the situation, it's 10 times more efficient to let them get complete over there rather than being like, I know what you're saying. Let me cut you off and just get at it for you. I'll say it more efficient than you. Don't worry. I'm better at this than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you.
I'm better at your thoughts than than you are. So let me tell you how. Yeah, no, I know 100% what you're saying there.
It was it was so funny. What makes me think of is we were on a call once, and it was a group that was led by Ontocore of business leaders, and this guy's just going off about how this guy has to repeat himself so many times, and he's such a hassle for the company, and he's got to just talk to him and get him to stop repeating himself. Anyway, he repeats himself probably 4 or 5 times. Working to get the point across of how big of a pain in the ass it is that this guy does it. And Mark just sits back. He says, "Hey, Dermot, will you? I've got an agreement for you this week. Re-listen to this call." And Dermot was like, "Oh, okay." And then comes back the next week, and he's like, "Yeah, I got it."
I actually know who Dermot is.
Oh, was he there?
No, but he was on some of the calls.
Oh, yeah.
He's a really interesting guy.
Big old Irish dude.
Yeah.
Old Dermot.
But that's really funny, yeah. Well, just like last night, we were up at Lowe's buying stuff for the house we're building. And Steph was just like, so we were looking through carpets, and she was going through lots and lots of options, which doesn't really align for me. So I'm just like, hey, pick out the ones that you like and then let me know. Well, she kept on asking me questions, and I'm kind of distracted looking around. Just, yeah, not really being present. And she's just like, hey, be here. And like now that actually clicks for me. And she's like, it's so nice that works now. like it's easier for me to understand. Like, hey, like we're here. Why don't I have my being be here? And like let's like
I'm like, all right, here. Like,
yeah,
why not?
yeah, be where my feet are.
Yeah.
You know, and she was like, oh, I could definitely get used to this. And I was like, yeah.
Well, and like talk about your wife performing for you, like in all aspects.
Yeah.
In all aspects, you start showing up for her like that. My experience has been like, be ready to get your mind blown.
Yeah.
And I think I've said on the podcast before, but I'm 100% believer that like what you can count on, fellas, is your wife is exactly what you created her to be, and ladies, what you can count on is your husband's exactly what you created him to be.
Yeah.
So like get to creating, but dude, this conversation has been super good for me because I'm thinking all the going on in my life. Got a lot going on. I'm actually trying to purchase a couple businesses. I'm doing the day trading thing. My house just sold. We have no idea where we're going to live. And, like, what I'm realizing is we've kind of been floating along with it. Like, I experienced myself that we move through the world relatively powerfully. But this conversation is, like, brought to my mind, like, man, my wife and I, we can sit down and really get clear of what it is we're going to do to handle our living situation, handle whatever else needs to be handled, our financials, all of that, and just taking the hour that it might take to do that will
Clear up so much space in your life.
yeah, and we'll just be able to move. And it's like, yeah, let's just take the 7 elements, go through. Do we have all those in line? Boom, make it happen. Start speaking this into creation. Let's use our language and get that foundation started and create. And yeah, been a good podcast for me, so I don't really care if anyone liked it or not.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure they did.
I mean, we can probably keep on going all day. So
yeah, but I'll end it here so you can get on with your day. I just talked to you all day because Tyler's out watching the kids. Quinn's still asleep. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Freedom.
Yeah, my wife is incredible. This this will be my rant. I'll say if you have kids, spend a couple days, just you and your kids, and you'll get so much more appreciative for your wife. I've watched my kids plenty of times and, thought I knew what it kind of looked like my wife's day. My eyes have really been open. So if you're in that situation at all, where you've got some kids and your wife, go ahead, just kind of switch spots for 3 or 4 days. You'll get a lot bigger appreciation. So you got anything else to share?
No, I'm good.
I'm sure there'll be more to come in future podcasts.
Oh,
Appreciate you guys listening. Share this with your friends. Peace.